Hello, welcome to English for Everyone, where we practice real-life American English. Today we're going to take a look at the difference between two confusing words, so let's get started. A viewer left a comment asking us to make a video about the difference between these two words. The viewer asked, what's the difference between farther and further? So let's take a look. Farther and further can mean the same thing. They can be interchangeable. If you talk about distance, they mean more far. But we don't say more far, we say farther or further. Pronunciation, when you say farther, you have AR. It makes it sound R like car and bar, farther. The TH has the voiced sound, farther. Not father, make that R sound, farther. Farther, it means more far, but we don't say that. And pronunciation of further. We use the sound like burger. It's a closed sound with our R. Burger, fur, further. So both syllables have the same sound. Further. Further. Put the stress on the first syllable. So if your idea is about distance, you can use either word.
Since you've told me about this woman, you have been getting further and further away from who I know.
It's further away than London.
He just keeps getting further away from me.
You can't get any further away before you start coming back.
Yeah, it's also 600 miles further away from New York, Ty.
It's funny because I actually want my mother to move further away from me.
You blew off therapy. You drifted further away from me.
I finally came to the realization that I was pushing you further and further away from me also.
This one passed over 100 years ago, but much farther.
Not much farther now.
But Dr. Bowman and I are extremely confident he's not going to make it much farther.
Example, Jupiter is farther than the moon. Or I can say Jupiter is further than the moon. You're talking about distance. You can use either word. Let's practice. Is Jupiter farther than the moon? That's right, Jupiter is farther than the moon. Is Jupiter further than the moon? That's right, Jupiter is further than the moon. The moon is closer. Example, they haven't reached their destination yet. They need to drive further, or they need to drive farther. You can ask the question, how much further do they need to drive? Or how much farther do they need to drive? Again, you're talking about distance in both cases.
Hey, Dad, how much farther is it?
How much farther is this town anyway?
Hey, how much farther is it?
How much farther is it?
Here.
Hey, how much farther?
Let's practice. Have they arrived yet, or do they need to drive farther? That's right, they need to drive farther. Have they arrived yet, or do they need to drive further? That's right, they need to drive further. Example, they moved. They used to live close to downtown, but now they live in the suburbs, so they live farther away from downtown in their new house. Or I can say further because I'm talking about distance. They live further away from downtown in their new house. Their new house is further away from downtown than their old house.
Hey, Eddie, I'm wondering if you can get any further from the curb.
Would you want to be closer to the bathroom or further away from the AC?
Can we get any farther away?
I just know that every man I kill, the farther away from home I feel.
Well, we won't be any farther away from the town if we make a camp.
Let's practice. Do they live farther away from downtown? That's right. Now they live farther away from downtown. Let's practice. In their new house, do they live further away from downtown? That's right. Now in their new house, they live further away from downtown. Also, we use both words when you're talking about direction. North, east, west, and south. We say farther, farther north, or further, further north. We don't say more north. We use these words, farther and further.
I tell you, those voices soared, higher and farther than anybody in a great place dares to dream.
We just need to evacuate essential personnel, set up another safe zone farther north.
I think that was farther west in the Sierras.
Uncle Burnett continued further east in hope of reaching the outpost.
But we're no one farther than you.
We need something farther east. They're all burned.
Each time moving further west.
The sparkle noise. We gotta head further west.
I was actually thinking of further east.
We come from further south.
Let's go further east.
We've been around. I'm gonna go further east.
No, a lot of people think Iowa is more, it's further west than that.
It's farther than you want to carry it.
The farther south they go, the safer they'll be.
Farther south.
Every time this thing kills, it moves further south.
There are other camps further south.
I ain't never been further north than Mobile, Alabama.
The gold is further north.
Once upon a time, there was a country so far north, it was further north than the North Pole. It was further north than the Big Dipper. It was even further north than the Milky Way, and that's pretty far north.
Let's compare two cities, Chicago, Illinois, and Dallas, Texas. Which one is further north? Chicago. Chicago is further north than Dallas, Texas. Or I could say farther. Chicago is farther north than Dallas. Let's practice. Is Chicago farther north than Dallas? That's right. Chicago is farther north than Dallas. Is Chicago further north than Dallas? That's right. Chicago is further north than Dallas. Or I can go the other way and say south. Dallas is farther south than Chicago. Or Dallas is further south than Chicago. Let's practice. Is Dallas farther south than Chicago? That's right. Dallas is farther south than Chicago. Is Dallas further south than Chicago? That's right. Dallas is further south than Chicago. Now let's talk about how these words are different. The word further can be used in a different way. Not talking about distance, but talking about to a greater extent or more. Example, the police investigated a crime, but they didn't solve the crime, so they need to investigate further. The idea is they need to investigate more. We use further in this case, but not farther. Only further, with the sound. Further. They need to investigate further, because they haven't solved the crime yet.
But rather than admit to a conspiracy or investigate further, the Warren Commission chose to endorse the theory put forth by an ambitious junior counselor, Arlen Specter.
That's what we're going to need to investigate further.
There's someone I'd like to investigate further.
Must investigate further.
Let's practice. The police haven't solved the crime yet. Do they need to investigate further? That's right, they need to investigate further. Another example, in court cases, the judge will ask the lawyer, "Do you have any further questions?" And then the lawyer will answer, "No further questions, Your Honor." That's what the lawyer says to the judge. So if you watch TV and movies and there's a court case, you might hear this.
Mr. Stamphill, do you have any further questions for this witness?
No further questions, Your Honor.
I have no further questions.
No further questions.
No further questions, Your Honor. Your witness.
Before I ask any further questions, would you like to have counsel?
Do you have any further questions for me?
No further questions, Your Honor. No further questions, Your Honor. Your witness.
Are there any further questions?
No further questions, Your Honor.
I respectfully refuse to answer any further questions.
Noted. Are there any further questions?
So the judge asked the lawyer, "Do you have any further questions?" And the lawyer said, No further questions, Your Honor. He doesn't have any further questions. The idea, he doesn't have any more questions. We use further in this case, but not farther. Let's practice. Does the lawyer have any further questions? That's right, the lawyer doesn't have any further questions. And I can use further as a verb. We don't use farther as a verb, but we can use further as a verb. Example, he wants to further his career. Remember, in English, the word career is not talking about your school time, it's talking about your work time. How long you work at a profession. Your profession is your career. So he wants to further his career. He wants to advance his career. He wants his career to move forward and improve. So in this case, further is a verb meaning to advance something. He wants to further his career. So what is he going to do? He's going to work long hours. He's going to work on the weekends. He's going to work as hard as possible to further his career. Let's practice. Is he going to work long hours? That's right. He's going to work long hours. Is he going to work weekends too? That's right. He's going to work weekends too. Why? Why is he going to do all this? Does he want to further his career? That's right. He wants to further his career. So remember, farther and further can mean the same thing when talking about distance. But further can be used in different ways, to talk about more, to a greater extent, and sometimes as a verb. If it's still not clear, watch the video again and keep practicing. Thank you for watching, and if you like this video, subscribe to our channel. And if you want to become a member, click the join button. And we'll see you next time.